Today on Virginia Legends podcast, I have LJ Kilby, Bassett's finest. LJ was involved in Coach LJ was involved in one of the biggest upsets in Bassett High School history. In 1965, his Bassett team beat Martinsville, the powerhouse next door, put him out in the district tournament, which was a huge deal at the time. Coach has had a great career coaching at many schools, including Cleveland State a couple times. He was at Lincoln Memorial, where he actually, I think, graduated at UT-Chattanooga, Georgia Southern. He actually coached at Ferrum as well, when he also played at Ferrum when it was a junior college. And he also coaches some golf and has a recruiting service, LJK Hoops Reviews. Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yes, sir, you did. Yeah. I've often said to people, say, where have you been? I said, how much time do you have? And I'll tell you a couple of stories. I said, I moved a lot. I don't know whether it was me wanting to move or the people I was working for wanting to move me.
That's right. Well, you find in life, especially with coaching, if you're willing to move around and be flexible, you'll find yourself in better opportunities. If you always want to stay in the same place, sometimes the job you want is not going to be there, especially if you're coaching college basketball.
Right.
You might not be able to get that job in Bassett, Virginia. You may have to go somewhere else to get it.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing. I sort of stumbled into it to a degree. I did go to Ferrum, then I went to VCU, and I didn't actually finish my student teaching at VCU, so that kept me from moving in the direction I wanted to go. But later, I connected with the coach at Ferrum, and he basically hired me there as what I would call a volunteer or a part-time. It was 1974, to be honest. Wow. And we finished the year, and he had an opportunity to go to Lincoln Memorial, and he did. And when he did, he was able to take me with him, and I did finish my degree there, and it was a blessing. And from there, it has been, as you said, Lordy, I'm a traveling man.
Oh, yeah. Got no goals, got no plans. That's the old Stevie Wonder song. Is Lincoln Memorial, what part of Tennessee is that, Coach?
If you looked at the map of Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia, it's in what they call the Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, and it's right in the corner of the state. All three states, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia meet in Cumberland Gap.
Yeah.
If you took Highway 58 from Virginia Beach, you could get all the way to Lincoln Memorial because that's where it finishes.
Yeah. How far is that from Thomas Walker High School?
Oh, it's a heartbeat. I mean, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah, I just happened to post. You probably saw it, the picture of the 1970 Thomas Walker team, and I'd never heard of the college. I mean, the high school. I knew a guy from Jonesville, which is 20 miles or so east of Thomas Walker. Thomas Walker's in Ewing, Virginia. But when you study the history of Virginia basketball, you learn a lot about geography. Let's talk about Bassett first. I know a little bit about Martinsville because it was a basketball powerhouse. Don't know much about Bassett. I know it's a furniture. Fact, they build furniture there, and I believe they still do. Would your life have been much different if you're from Martinsville? What is Bassett like as compared to Martinsville?
Well, it is a different scenario, Julian. Martinsville is larger, but Bassett at one time was considered the largest wood furniture manufacturer in the world. John D. Bassett started it, and there's something. The main office is still there, but most everything was years ago. It went overseas. Now, there is in Galax, Virginia, a Vaughn Bassett where John D. Bassett III is over that, and he was instrumental in helping Bassett try to reconstruct things. It's made progress, but it just hasn't been the same. Martinsville the same way. The textiles and things in that area, DuPont, the furniture companies that were in Martinsville and textiles, they're non-existing now. Martinsville has been a great basketball power.
Oh, absolutely. Coach, would you say Bassett was part of the Martinsville community? Is it the same community, or is it very distinct communities?
It's different. You had if you looked at the map, you'd see Bassett. Then there's another little town or decent sized town, Collinsville, and then there's Martinsville. And then you leave Martinsville, you can be in North Carolina on a heartbeat.
Right. Okay.
But Bassett, as far as basketball, they did win a state championship in 1959, and I credit a lot of those guys that played on that team with helping me become a better player because we had a community center there in Bassett where we played, and at one time played our home games. And those guys beat me up pretty dead bum good, but in the long run, it was the best thing that could have ever happened. This was their '59 team, and again, I think you and I have talked. There's been some good players come out of there. One in particular is Sherman Dillard.
Oh yeah, and Ricky
Sherman,
Dillard
of
played
course,
at George Mason. Yeah.
yeah, he was head coach at James Madison at Indiana State, and it was at Iowa just until the end, till McCaffrey was his contract was not renewed. Had him, and then there was another player, Mike Helms, played at Wake Forest.
Yes.
He was a great player. So they've had some really good players on that '59 team. They had a youngster, Bobby Joe Quisenberry, that played at Tech. Had some others that went to. There was a college in Roanoke called National Business College, and it was in the same region, JUCO wise, as Ferrum, and a couple of three of those guys went up there and played. So that team sort of. Was something everybody looked at and is always looked at as probably the best team that was ever there. Not that we didn't have bad teams, but we just didn't reach the things. And Martinsville was so dead bum good. You mentioned the '65 team that we actually beat. That was probably, as far as a game in my high school career, the most memorable because I think they went into that game in the Blue Ridge Conference, Blue Ridge District at that time. They were like 72-1.
Wow.
I mean, they had no one could beat them, and we did sort of hold the ball on them a little bit there, though.
It still counts. Well, Coach, why would you guys be in the same district as a big community like Martinsville? So how did you guys? I mean, because Bassett couldn't have been as big a school as Martinsville. Is that right?
Well, I tell you, Bassett was a pretty good sized school, and I think back then too. I may not be correct on it, but I would still say it was probably dealing with enrollment. Back then they had like 1A, 1B, and then some smaller schools, and we were 1B. We were not the 1As, which would have been the larger schools in the state. But the district we were in at that time, the Blue Ridge, entailed Roanoke, Virginia, and some of the surrounding areas there. So it was a pretty huge district at that time. Then my senior year, they changed some things and reduced the number of teams that we played in, and they called us the Piedmont District at that time. So. It was a really good. I mean, it had some really good players. Cave Spring was in that district.
Wow, when it first opened,
they've had some pretty good players, a la JJ Redick. But they had some pretty good ones when I played back then. Bedford, which in turn became Liberty High School in Bedford. They had a youngster that played at VMI named Peyton Brown. He was a heck of a player. And through that same area, that Cave Spring had some guys. There were some pretty good players. And of course, Martinsville had at that time. Martinsville had a guy by the name of Sonny Wade, who ended up as a big time football player and played some professionally in the NFL and in Canada. But he was on that team, and then Mel Cartwright Jr. Who went on to Washington and Lee was also on that team. I mean, they were really good, well coached. They were the team that everybody shot at because they won every year.
Coach, and we'll get back to all the basketball, but did you guys know the kids from Martinsville? Would they be your friends, or you were friends with most of the kids in Bassett? I mean,
Oh no, no. We actually with at the community center during the summer. Some of those guys from Martinsville would come over and we'd play pickup games.
okay, so you
We'd
know.
play. There was Martinsville at that time. Martinsville, Fieldale, Drury Mason, and Bassett. That was right there in actually in the Henry County area. My senior year, they combined Fieldale with I forget who with and made Fieldale Collinsville High School.
Mhm.
But yeah, we played with those guys.
Okay. And when you think of Bassett, I'm reading that book about Giles football that I saw on the internet. I'm reading the
Yes,
book about, and uh, you know, Bassett is right south of what you call Appalachia. You guys are
yes.
maybe in the foothills a little bit, but there's nothing about Bassett that's like Appalachia. Or are you getting close to where the mountainous areas?
Where actually, I'm gonna be honest. Where I say I'm from Bassett. If I tell the truth, I'm from Stone's Dairy,
Oh, okay.
which is right 6 miles above Bassett, like you're going to Bristol maybe. But there was a Fairstone State Park that's there,
Mhm.
and we grew up in that area. The elementary schools, up there. They actually, I never played basketball until I was in the sixth grade. One, we didn't have a gym. They built the gym when I was a fifth grader, but they never put baskets in the gym. They put them in the next year, and our principal became the coach. And it was like the whole world opened up to me. Another world woke up to me because you're a lot younger than I am, so I can tell this story. Back in the day, I would watch every the sport: football, basketball, baseball. And wanted to play them all. We played them out in the cow pasture, and we would only get on like during football, we'd get maybe a college game, but pro wise, we never got anything but the Washington Redskins,
Oh, is that right?
which I have been and still am a Washington Redskin fan.
That's right.
And baseball was the New York Yankees, and I became a Yankee fan
Wow.
and was a big Mickey Mantle.
Mm.
In fact, my mom bought me a Mickey Mantle glove, and it had a autographed picture in it. I still have the autographed picture. God knows where the glove is.
Yeah.
But basketball wise, it was the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
So I watched the Boston Celtics, and as a kid, Bob Cousy was my idol.
Mm.
Uh, you know, I may have tried some things that cost me playing time, trying to think I was Bob Cousy at
Yeah.
times. But back then, you didn't have the things that you do now, and all the years that I've been in it is just it's just been unbelievable to me. And I will tell you this too: I was very fortunate in life. I grew up without a dad. My dad was killed in a trucking accident when I was 2, and my brother was 6 months. And my mother raised us by
Wow. Sorry to hear
herself
that. Yeah.
with her family's help. So the people that have been most influential in my life have been coaches.
Wow.
They were like father figures from elementary to high school to college. I mean, I was very fortunate. I played at Ferrum for Carl Tacy, who ended up being the Wake Forest coach forever, and then played at VCU for Benny Dees, who ended up Wyoming, New Orleans. He was assistant at several places. So basketball gave me more opportunities in life than I would have ever thought as I grew up.
Yeah. Coach,
I'm still trying to give back to the game that I
yeah.
love.
Yeah. Well, very sorry to hear about losing your dad at a young age. I mean, you probably had to grow up. Life was pretty serious. Did your mom? Did you have to work a lot? Odd jobs to help out, or did you get a chance to play ball and with the
She
rest of the kids?
she she did so many things for us. Like she worked in the cafeteria at that elementary school,
Mm.
so we could play. My brother was into horses. He rode in horse shows back up in the country up there.
Wow.
But mom was always there to take us and do the things that kids now don't they have the opportunity? Sometimes I scratch my head and say, "Gosh, do they wonder what an opportunity that they've got with their parents doing what they do?" But yeah, she did so much for my brother Daryl and I that we started working whenever we could. Now I worked for my cousin at a service station, pumping gas, washing cars. I worked for the community center, which was a great job because we had the gym. And I also worked for the Corps of Engineers on Philpott Lake there in the Bassett area. So, yeah, we did. We had to, we had to help out as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, Coach, you grew up in a very, I would say, a turbulent time. A lot of unrest with the Vietnam War when you're in high school, the civil rights movement and stuff. When you were growing up, did you play ball with the black kid? My father is from Bedford.
Yeah,
His father's from Bedford. So I'm local. Did you know black kids? Did you play basketball with black kids growing up?
we honestly did not, except there at the community center. The gentleman that was the custodian, I guess, and a wonderful human being. His son was a heck of a player at one of the all black schools there in the area, and he would come over and we would play at night together. And man, I tried to talk him every way I could possibly, because when they integrated, it was my senior year. We got all of the great musicians and people that could sing and everything else, but we didn't get any dadbum basketball or football players.
Martinsville got them all.
Martins, when somebody else got it, or they just stayed where they were because that they were in those leagues were pretty dadbum good back then, Julius.
Yeah. What year did the schools? What year did the school integrate? Did Bassett integrate?
Mine would have been 65, 70 my senior year.
65. Right. So, did you play against black players in the Piedmont? I guess it wasn't the Piedmont, whatever it was called.
It was Blue Ridge, and then when it went to Piedmont, that senior year, my senior year, we didn't play against any black athletes. The first, and it's something. The first one I ever played with was Jerry Venable from Robert E. Lee Stanton, who I'm telling you could play. He went from Ferrum to Kansas State, and from Kansas State he played with the Globetrotters for like 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
But then the next year we brought in a youngster from South Carolina that ended up at West Virginia, and he and I roomed together. And it was, I actually had the coach. I shouldn't say it, but I'm being honest. He said, "Coach," he said, "LJ," he said, "we're bringing in this player, Sam Oglesby." He said, would you room with him? I said, "You dead bum right, I'll room with him. He's a player, and I guarantee you one thing, he's going to make me look better because I'm going to be passing him the basketball. he may help my assist statistics."
Yeah. Well, Coach, you're raised by a single mom. How did you get so good in basketball? Did you model after those 59 Bassett players that
Some of those guys, but where I lived, again, out in the country, I went out and cut down a pine tree, got a post hole diggers, dug the hole, put a backboard, built a backboard, and Mom bought us a goal. And it was a dirt place out back, and that's where I learned to play. And I got to watching it, and I got to thinking, well, if you work at your game this way, that way, and the other, you give yourself an opportunity to improve. And then again, my elementary coach, he had played in college at like Bridgewater, I think, and he was a really good fundamentalist, which helped me immensely. Then my high school coach helped me. He was able to help some people to help me. I went to NC State basketball camp 2 summers in a row, and the first year that I went, Everett Case was still the coach, and that's a long time ago. And then the next year I went, Press Maravich was the coach, and Pete Maravich was there, and we didn't work out with him, but we could go and watch him work out. And again, watching him work out and do all the ball handling things that I saw, it didn't do anything but fire me up even more.
Yeah. Wasn't Case the coach that brought the ACC tournament? He's the guy from Indiana. Well, he's
Yes, yeah. He probably he got the ACC started,
yeah.
and I've seen documentaries and being from that area and talking to different people, and meeting some of the coaches and players that played there. I mean, he started the ACC.
Yeah. So, Coach, the basketball games mean everything back then. When you beat Michael Barros and his Martinsville team, tell us a little bit about that environment. Was the whole town there? Did the game mean
Oh,
more than anything?
we actually played it in Roanoke. They hosted it at that time I think it was Andrew Lewis High School.
Hmm.
But hey, every game that was played, it was packed. And that game, because Martinsville and Bassett were just, they're just heated rivalry. So we had totally a packed house, and I'll never forget. We scored with 20 seconds to go, and we thought, well, 20 seconds and anything that no one else scored. And when the clock went off, I'll never forget looking up in the stands, and it looked like an avalanche of people coming on that floor. I mean, and it wasn't the Martinsville people for sure, but it was every other team that was in that tournament. Everybody was so happy that Martinsville had been beaten.
Wow.
Geez, we all had a celebration.
Yeah. You were were you a sophomore that year?
I was a junior then.
Junior year, and you were small. You weren't a big guy, were you?
I was about 5'11", 6 foot, and weighed about 155 pounds, 50 pounds maybe.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of you on our group, and you might have been a freshman or a sophomore. You were still very young. You were still very young looking.
Yeah.
And they had the starting five there. You had some big guys on you had some pretty big guys on your team, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Now at Bassett we had a 6'5" post player. The year before, when I was sophomore, I played part of the season, and we had a 6'6" guy, that kind of thing. But when I got to Ferrum, we had a 6'10" guy from Syracuse. We had a 6'9", a 6'8". Those were the biggest players that I'd ever played with or against, in my life. Martinsville had size, and they were well coached. But when that night when we beat them, it was like, and it was for us, it was like, oh my God! Well, it was so euphoric for us. We forgot we had to play the next night, and Drury Mason beats us to go to the state tournament.
Wow. Now was Drury Mason? I mean, they're south of Martinsville. Were they also a rival of Bassett?
Oh yeah, we all of us were county schools, and all of us, as we grew up, played at county elementary schools and played against each other. So we pretty much knew each other from the 6th grade on, which made it interesting to say the least.
Wow.
And you know what? We had, and I was going to tell you this too. Playing at Ferrum was something was just unbelievable for me. Playing with for Carl Tacy. But at the time I played, the conference that we were in was the Cavalier Tar Heel, which now if you look at some of the schools that were in there, and I sort of wrote some of those down, they're all either Division II or I think one is a Division I. The one that's Division I that we played against was Gardner Webb.
Oh yeah.
And we played them my freshman year for the championship to go to Hutchinson, Kansas.
Wow.
Our center was Jerry Venable, who goes to Kansas State. Mm-hmm. Their center was Artis Gilmore.
Wow.
And I've told the story that Artis blocked a shot of mine in Lenore, North Carolina. They never found the basketball.
What was his attitude like? Was he a nice guy? Was he quiet?
He was unbelievably nice and quiet. And I ran into him years later. I was recruiting in Florida, and his son was playing in something. And I went up, and I said, I think I played against you when you were at Gardner Webb. He looked at me like, how in the world do you know about Gardner Webb?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a great guy. And I stumbled around and got to reconnected with him when he played in the ABA. I was in the Army National Guard in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, back in 70 something, and we went in, and it was right about when the ABA championship had been played. and they brought us all in, and they were going through the roll, and they asking about who, making sure everybody's there. Well, they went to this name, and they said Mike Pratt. And if you look Mike Pratt up, I went, I think I know who that is. He played at Kentucky for Rupp.
Wow.
And was on the ABA team. The next morning, I go to the bathroom down there. There's a 6'7", 6'6", guy there, and I said, I'm going to ask him who this is. I said, you wouldn't be Mike Pratt, would you? And from that point on, we were friends until he passed away 2 years ago.
Wow.
And Artis played on the ABA team with him.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Mike Pratt. So, Coach, why did you decide to go to Ferrum? I mean, I know it's very close by, but why was that your choice?
Interesting, because I actually went to Roanoke College, and I got to Roanoke College, and I was pretty naive and young, and I was there for not a very long time, and it just didn't seem like a good fit for me. So Ferrum had recruited me, and I thought, well, maybe my best bet is to go back home. And I went back and actually worked again, pumped gas and washed cars for a semester, and then went to Ferrum. And the coach that was there was a guy by the name of Jim Hartbarger, who had been ultra successful there. He left after that second semester and went to Virginia Tech as an assistant, and that's when Carl Tacy came in. Yeah. And Coach Tacy called me when he got the job. He called me right the first of the summer, and I was thinking, well, I may not be playing anywhere anymore. He said, I saw you play in high school. He said, you enrolled at Ferrum, weren't you? I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, are you coming back? I said, and would want to play basketball? I said, if you want me to, I'll be right there. Wow. And the rest of that was history.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Carl Tacy. Carl Tacy ended up coaching a guy that I love, Rod Griffith at Wake Forest, and I think he coached Frank Johnson as well. But I hear now Frank Johnson played for the Bullets in the 80s. I hear now that he coached in Pulaski County for some time. So tell us a little bit about Carl Tacy.
They called him at Wake Forest Gentleman Carl and Silent Carl at times. And I had a good friend of mine who actually helped me at Cleveland State. He was an assistant for Coach Tacy at one time, and he said, yes. Some days he would come in and he was so quiet. It wasn't anything. He wasn't upset. He just didn't talk. I never heard the man utter any curse word or whatever. But I mean, he was very knowledgeable, and his first college job, here he is at Ferrum. Ferrum had just been to the national tournament the year before. So there's a little pressure, I'm sure, that he had on him. But no, it was a pleasure to play for. And I kept in contact with him, until he did pass away a few years ago. And no, he was special. Yeah, he was special.
I think Michael Barrows told me that Carl Tacy had coached against Sonny Smith in Pulaski County.
Yeah, Sonny was over at Dublin, and Coach Tacy was at Pulaski.
That's unbelievable. Two future Division I coaches in Pulaski County.
Oh, on top of that, Sonny comes to Bassett, of course, and coaches there. And another guy that was there, you probably know him, Ernie Nestor.
Yeah, Ernie Nestor, George Mason coach.
Yeah, it was there. George Mason was all over the place. Was at Elon at one time. Yeah. He was the high school coach at Bassett at one time.
How do you explain all those great coaches from that one little area?
I scratched my head. The guy that was the coach that coached the '59 state championship team, Jim Akers, and he just got out of it and got into the sporting good business. But had he stayed in it, I don't question that he might have not been a college coach.
What did you learn from Carl Tacy, and were you surprised by his success?
I really wasn't surprised. I mean, he did things. We did have good players, and we did play an up tempo type game. But strategy wise, and some things that we did, for us to be successful. I learned a lot from from him in an aspect of that I learned from Benny Dees, who was at VCU. Who, when you talk about silent Carl, Benny was not silent. He would definitely let you know how he felt and what was going on. So
Yeah.
I got two scenarios there. But again, one of the biggest influences for me was Sonny Smith. And Sonny came in there, replaced the coach that I played for, and I got to working out with his team during the summer. And from there, I mean, we've stayed in touch the whole time. I went with him, took his family to Cincinnati, Ohio in 1968 or 69, and he brought me back through Tennessee. I'd never been through Tennessee. Brought me by, and we went by Lincoln Memorial University. I said, "Where in the world am I here?"
Yeah.
And dang, later on, I'm back there.
You're back there. Yeah.
But
So, Coach, what was going on in the world back then? Or I guess the Vietnam War had to have been raging at that time. Were you worried you were going to get drafted to go to Vietnam?
no question about that, because two of my high school that I graduated within 2 years were killed in Vietnam.
Mm.
I mean, they not only I graduated with them, but I sat next to them in class, and that was. And I've been up to, of course, been to Washington to see their names up there. Things that's So I knew I wanted to try to stay in school, and I could. So I ended up in the Army National Guard for 7 years.
Mm.
Yeah, that during that time right there, there was some turmoil and for the war, not for the war, those kind of things. It was a difficult time.
Yeah. How do you compare those times to the very difficult political times that we're having now? People can't even talk politics. We're at our throats now. Is that the way it was
No,
about that
no,
time? No, it
no.
wasn't.
It definitely was, to me, a totally different atmosphere. I mean, I guess the way I grew up, Julian, was and being in the country, and not having the media that we have today. Uh, there was not a lot of turmoil in our area.
Mm.
I mean, there was nothing that I ever thought, whether it be racial turmoil or any kind that caused us to be either upset, afraid, or whatever. It just wasn't that way. It was just a different era to grow up in, and there's times I long for those days.
Yeah, me too. But it had to be an incredible time because just 5 years earlier, you didn't know many black kids. You know the kid you played basketball with, the son of the guy who ran the community center. But all of a sudden, you're going to school, black kids. Bassett is integrated. Martinsville's integrated. Was it lost on you how things were changing very quickly at that time?
Say that again. It
Well,
wasn't.
was it lost on you at the time how quickly things were changing? Did you feel like things were changing quickly in the world?
It did not so much because of what I became associated with by going and playing, with a black athlete and being in, Ferrum. We had didn't have many, but then you go to VCU, and as I moved along, I could, it was a different world for me, and different atmosphere. But I just never saw issues. I never saw issues. To me, uh, everybody's on the same plane. Everybody's, to me, you make of your life and world what you can make of it, but don't do it in a way that's harmful or upsetting or whatever to people. I'm just so old school and low key about things,
Yeah,
that people sometimes will say, "What in the world? Where'd you grow up anyway?"
yeah. Well, was the mood and was the mood different in Richmond? So I guess you probably moved to Richmond around 1971. Um,
Actually, I went up for my first year, and it was the first year that they ever played Division I basketball.
okay, yeah.
And now that was an eye-opening thing for sure. But it was 1969,
Mhm.
and at that time, VCU had been Richmond Professional Institute, and RPI was what that was called at one
Oh,
time. They played NAI. They merged with the Medical College of Virginia to become VCU.
wow, I didn't know that.
So I mean, again, I went up there, and being honest, I'm at Ferrum with about 1,400 students, and all of a sudden I go to VCU, and they were really an art school.
Yeah,
Their big thing was art, and this is 1969, 70. I'm thinking, where am I?
yeah,
I didn't see any art students and things in Bassett, which nothing wrong with it at all, and interesting to be honest with you. But I'd never seen things
yeah.
like I saw in Richmond. First thing I did when I got there, the assistant coach said, "Okay, I'm going to take you over to the dorm." I went down a one-way street the wrong way.
Wow.
I thought this is not a good start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but
What did you think of Richmond at the time? I guess back then it was a big tobacco town. It was definitely a southern town, but you're from a southern area.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I liked Richmond. I ended up, even though I didn't finish my get my teaching certificate at VCU, I ended up working for the Parks and Recreation there in the city. I did playgrounds and things like that. I thoroughly loved Richmond, and still got some friends. I just talked to one the other day that tried to help him get him to help one of our former players from UTC that's going to be the chief administrative officer for the mayor in Richmond.
yeah.
So
Well,
I'm still a big Richmond fan. I just don't get to go anymore
you have to go. Yeah, yeah.
like that.
Well, you end up going to Lincoln Memorial, and you is that where you began coaching as well? Did you begin coaching right after you finished your degree at Lincoln Memorial?
I went from again. I stumbled into it at Ferrum and went in as actually a volunteering part time, and then uh,
Okay.
the guy Jack Jackson, who was the head coach at that time at Ferrum, he got the LMU job. I
That's
went
right.
with him.
Yeah.
He stayed 3 years and then got out of it, and they hired me. So I was an assistant for 3 and the head coach for 5. And during that time, I would work basketball camps every summer for 2 reasons. One, it helped me money wise, but two, I could actually recruit players
Yeah.
because there were no rules. I could go work a team camp or an individual camp. Like I would go to West Virginia and work camp up there at what used to be Morris Harvey. I'd go to Transylvania. I went to UNC Charlotte, all those places. But it was for again, make a little money, but to maybe recruit some players. But little did I know the connections that I was going to be fortunate and blessed to make during that process.
Yeah.
That helped down the road to not only get players, but it actually got me a job. It got me the first Division I job as an assistant at Georgia Southern. I was working at Morris Harvey, which is the University of Charleston now, in Charleston, West Virginia, and worked that camp. And got to working with an assistant from Georgia Southern, and they went to the NCAA tournament, and it was my last year. And he called me up. He said, "We've got an opening." He said, "It's a part time with the way the NCAA, operates." He said, "But we'd like to have you if you'd like to come." So didn't have any children at that time. My wife and I, we went down, and I said, if I'm going to ever take the opportunity, this is Division I. They've been to the NCAA tournament. I think I'm going to have to do this. So,
Well.
but let me tell you what I did. This salaries have changed quite a bit since I'm just going to tell you. But I was making 18,000 as the head men's basketball coach and the golf coach at Lincoln Memorial.
You
I
thought you were
went to
doing you
Georgia
thought you were
Southern.
doing you thought you were doing well too.
Oh, I thought I'd won the lottery. But I went to Georgia Southern, and the first year I made $10,000.
Mm.
But I took out what little retirement I had in my wife. She went to work, and after the first year, the assistant that one the full time assistant, he left and went to Middle Tennessee. So they said the head coach brought me in, a guy named Frank Kearns, brought me in and said, we're going to move you up, LJ. I said, oh, man, this sounds good. He said, yeah, you get a raise. I said, oh, thank Coach. He said, yeah, you're now going to make 11, not 10. But from there, I worked another year and met Murray Arnold, who was the head coach at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and actually sat with him for 2 days in a row at a junior college regional tournament in Alabama, and from there ended up getting a job at Chattanooga.
Yeah. Well, I want to get there in a minute. I do want to ask you about Lincoln Memorial. What did you think about Appalachia? That was your first time living in the mountains. Did you like it?
Well, I had no problem. See, where I grew up there in Bassett was right at the bottom foot of like Blue Ridge Parkway.
Right.
So we'd go up there, and with my granddad, all that. So it was similar, but I mean, it wasn't quite the same. I mean, it was definitely some differences out there at LMU. I didn't know anything about it. I found out one of my guys that I graduated from high school had gone to school there, but I never knew anything about it. And actually, Julian, when we went out there, Coach Jackson and I went, we found out later that school was in some trouble financially. And they had brought in a new president and a new vice president. And later on, we found out that they had two things they were going to do. That was either get the thing growing or they were going to shut it down. And I think I'm going to say this about athletics and especially basketball in that scenario. I've always said, athletics and basketball are like the front porch of a house. They people relate to that not necessarily fairly because there's other things, but once you get those people on that porch and get them in the house, now you're going to those rooms of the art department, the math, the engineering, everything. But as we know, athletics give schools names. And the year we got there, they had gone 8-20, but the gentleman that was the coach, he was not only the head basketball coach, he was the athletic director and the head baseball coach. So that in itself was difficult. But we got in there, and we actually came in. I think we were one of the first people that you ever might have nowadays called. We got into the portal.
Yeah.
We brought in JUCO transfers, 4-year transfers, and maybe a freshman.
Yeah.
But we knew they wanted to win. And one of the kids that we brought in was one of the Martinsville former players, Mark Cartwright, who had signed and gone to South Carolina, transferred to Virginia Tech. And the way we got him was Sonny Smith was the assistant to Don DeVoe. He called me and says, I think he's not going to come back, LJ, but I don't know if he wants to play anymore. Long story short, went to talk to him in Martinsville, brought him up there. He liked it. Came was all everything for us, and a Hall of Famer, and got his degree on top of that.
That's right, and that's Mel Cartwright's youngest son.
Mel's youngest son. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Coach, and you're calling the sports programs like the front porch. Nowadays, the athletic programs at some of these small schools is the lifeblood. They got 40% of the schools that are playing some kind of sport. A lot of the kids are on financial aid.
Yeah.
A lot of these schools are being held up by their athletic programs. I believe you probably know something about that.
Yeah, the especially on the NAIA level where we were, and I've seen more of it since then, Julian, where those schools they will start other sports, and they are bringing in student athletes, but they're students, and they don't give full rides. Mm-hmm. Those NAIA schools anymore, and there are two levels, I think, now still. There's a Division I, Division II. They may have put them all together, but back when I was there was one level. Then they moved to where they made it a Division I. They even had a Division II and III. But again, and they have a lot of JV teams. Mm-hmm. Like there's two schools near us here in Cleveland, Tennessee, Bryan College and Tennessee Wesleyan, that have had good programs, but they have JV programs because of student enrollment.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, real quickly, living in Tennessee, right there at the intersection of Kentucky, Virginia, probably not that far from North Carolina. Um, is the culture, the basketball culture, all the same? I've always noticed that those Eastern Tennessee high schools like Science Hill,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
they're good programs. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
find the basketball culture the same if you cross the state line and go into Kentucky? If you go into West Virginia, like Mullins and
Yeah.
those type of places, is the basketball culture all the same in Appalachia?
I'll tell you, there's a tad bit of difference, but not much because where we were, we could get to like, gosh, Harlan, Kentucky.
Yeah,
I forget what Middlesbrough, Kentucky, which is right across the line from us, had some really good players
absolutely.
come through. Yeah, those areas right there, Julian, that they and they still do. They develop a lot of good players. In fact, I was on the phone last night talking to one up in the Pikeville area of Kentucky,
Hmm.
where Pikeville, University of Pikeville is, and we played them when I was at LMU. And, I'm trying to help some of the players up there that are girls, and I did coach women's basketball twice.
You did? Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
coached middle school basketball about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I'll tell you a story, and the men are going to get mad. Y'all are all going to get mad at me. I know that. That's okay. But and then I went back year before last and helped at Cleveland State as an assistant. They lost their assistant, and the AD called me up and said, "Would you come back over and help us?" And I did and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'll tell you the story. If I knew back in 1974 what I know right now, I might have been a women's coach.
Mm.
I might have got fired, but I would have been a women's coach. Back at Lincoln Memorial, we had a women's team, and it was we wasn't funded real well. One what it is today, but they played two of the community or one of the community colleges in the league that I coached in afterwards. Roane State Community College,
Mm.
right outside of Nashville. Well, here they come in with their team, and there's a man coaching them. And this is 1977, somewhere along there. And I had an assistant who had played at Kentucky and at Marshall.
Mm.
And he said to me, he said, "Oh, look there, LJ, there's a guy coaching us." He said, "He can't get a man's job, can't a boy's job, can he?" I said, "Oh, well, no. Well, long story short, they come in there and they just waxed us.
Yeah.
And that coach was, and you may have heard of him, I would think you might have, Andy Landers, who went to Georgia and was at
Yeah.
Georgia forever as a big time SEC coach.
That's right. Yeah.
So that guy came in, he left, and another guy came in, Jim Davis, who ended up at Clemson as the head coach.
Wow.
After all that happened, I called that assistant coach of mine that told me about that. I said, "Dave," I said, "there were three guys in that scenario, and there were two dumb ones. I'm talking to one, and you're talking to the other one." But I coached it. And I really enjoyed coaching the
Yeah.
girls. I mean, it's a sort of a different, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But how in coaching them, you knew they weren't going to be trying to dunk the basketball and
Right.
do some things that guys do try to do. So they were more fundamental to deal with and work with.
Yeah. Have you enjoyed how the WNBA has gotten hot and Caitlin Clark, a brand new superstar?
Yeah, I watch quite a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely. In fact, I've got two granddaughters that play
Mhm.
their elementary school, and my oldest son coaches. So that's an experience to watch right there.
Yeah. Coach, you've been an assistant coach often in your career and a head coach. Are they very different skill sets, being a good assistant coach as opposed to being a good head coach?
Yeah, I think this, Julian. There are guys that again are, are head coaches. They're really good X and O guys, and they bring things to the table in that aspect. But on the other side, you got guys that know the game, have played the game, but they're great as recruiters because how they relate and how they evaluate talent, maybe that kind of thing. And I always thought, well, one reason I enjoyed being an assistant coach in recruiting because I just enjoyed people, just like talking to you.
Oh, I enjoy it too.
This right here is a blessing to me, and to be able to talk to people and recruit and do those things. As a head coach, I always knew I needed good players and a good assistant. because I needed some X and O help at times.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me. I wasn't on an ego trip about that. The bottom line was the bottom line.
Yeah. Coach, Coach, when you look at these Division I staffs now, I went to a game over at George Mason last year. They must have had 9 assistant coaches sitting on the bench. What? You must look at that sometimes and say, what are all those coaches doing?
I'm telling you, I had this conversation the other day with Dave Hobbs, who played at VCU and Ferrum and was a head coach at Alabama. I'm saying, Dave, I said, what are they all doing over there? I mean, if they all tried to get to the head coach to tell him something, that to me is disconcerting.
Yeah.
I mean, I look down at the bench, and again, I go back to when I went to Georgia Southern. We had the head coach and 2 assistants that, again, weren't getting paid, and I was a part-time, which meant I was definitely part-time salary. So, no, now you look over there, either they've got they got a clipboard or they got something doing something. I'm thinking, my God.
Yeah.
What all is going on though? So you saw the same thing that I see every once in a while. I mean, again, you take a player out of the game, and my gosh, if you want to talk to him as a head coach, you got to walk down to the next county and talk to him.
Yeah. And not only that, if you're a head coach, can you imagine the management skills that you need to recruit and train coaches, to delegate to coaches, to keep all your coaches busy, to put the coaches in positions where they're going to all be successful?
Yeah.
You got to still have relationships with the players. Nowadays, the parents want to text the head coach sometimes. I mean, all the things that a head coach must manage, it must be an incredible job these days.
I mean, you could say what you want, but it's like a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
And let's throw in where we are right now with the transfer portal and the NIL. I mean, if I'm at UT-Chattanooga, and sometimes we had have had some really good players come through there, as it did at Georgia Southern and even at LMU. It's almost like I've got to recruit that player on a daily basis because there's no telling what might happen the next year. He could be, I mean, he might have a bad practice. You get on his rear end and you might not see him again until you watched him on TV the next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a kid playing that was like the freshman of the year in the Southern Conference 2 or 3 years ago. Well, he's gone. And I didn't really know where I'm watching Arizona or somebody play, and there he is. So, it's difficult on the mid-majors even more so because, one, they don't have quite the money. And then if you got a good player, he could bolt in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it might be playing time, but it also might be money.
Exactly.
So it is a different game than this old guy from Stones Dairy sees from the day he started bouncing it in his backyard.
Yeah, Coach, when you look back on some of your big wins, what is the biggest win as a head coach that stays with you that you may think about and have good memories about to this day?
Well, it probably at LMU as the head coach there, my third year, we went to the NAIA National Championship.
That's a big day.
And played it in Kemper Arena there in Kansas City. I mean, that was the dangest tournament I'd ever seen. We went there first in 1975-76 and finished fourth. But we that year we won the district to go to the national, and we beat Rockhurst College, which was out of Kansas City. And Jerry Reynolds, who ended up being an NBA coach, was the coach. Yeah. We beat them and got beat in the second round, but we finished in the top 16 in the nation that year. And to get there, we had to beat David Lipscomb. And I don't know if you've ever heard the name Don Meyer. Yeah. And Don was the head coach, and we beat them in the championship game to go to the national tournament. So that one, I guess, as a head coach, was probably the one that I remember the most.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about some of the amazing coaches that you work with that did quite well: Carl Tacy, Sonny Smith. But in your coaching journey, Are there a lot of great coaches that you faced and you coach with that never went anywhere? They may have been at a high school, they may have
Yeah.
been at a college, a junior college, they may have been an assistant their whole career. Are there a lot of great coaches that you come across that just coached and kind of in the shadows in their whole career?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, there's numerous ones. I mean, I can think right off the bat. I can think of one that coached at William Fleming High School in Roanoke.
Burl
Burl
Pay?
Pay. Burl
Yeah,
Pay.
Burl
Burl
Pay.
graduated from Lincoln Memorial,
Yeah.
and I've got to be friends with Burl. And I actually got. I may tell you this story, but I won't get on probation for it because I don't coach anymore. And I don't think at one time, the NAI rules were rather flexible.
Yeah.
Uh, but Burl had a kid named Henry Beck, Keith Henry Beck.
Hmm.
And I found out about him. And of course, with Burl being there, I got in touch and I went up and visited the family. And he struggled. He had difficult situation, and he needed to. He was going to play in a Virginia State high school all-star game in the summer, but he had to graduate. Well, he was struggling, and so I found. I mean, I knew it, and to get him to LMU. I thought, well, if we could just get him to come and take the courses at LMU to pass that GED, that might help things.
Yeah.
So the youngster took a trip to a JUCO in Florida, and I knew the coach. So he's coming back, and I called the mom. I said, Miss Beck, I said, when will Henry be back? She said, well, he's going to be back such and such, but he's flying from wherever it was in Florida to Asheville, North Carolina. So I thought, Asheville, North Carolina, maybe I'll just run over. I think I'll run over there and maybe catch him between flights. So I drive to Asheville, which is about 3 hours from LMU, and get there. He gets off the plane. He knows me, so I gets off the plane. And I said, Keith, I said, why don't I change that flight and get you to come over to LMU with me? Just take a quick little visit, and I'll bring you back, put you on the plane. You can go on home. He said, Coach, I think that'd be okay. So I actually stole a player off a plane, put him in my car, took him over to LMU. So if they get me now, I'm guilty.
Yeah. And did he end up going to LMU?
He ended up playing for us, was All-American.
Oh, it's a great story. Where did he end up? Is he still alive? Is he still alive today?
He's in the Roanoke area. Yeah, yeah. He's played some afterwards and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was so. And the guy that was the head coach at the JUCO, I'd known him, and he laughed at it. He said, "Well, LJ, you just outsmarted me on that one, didn't you?"
Yeah. Burl Pay was a clever guy. He was at Fleming, and the way Roanoke was divided, it was almost an all-black school the way they did the boundaries. He had some talent at William Fleming. I think he had been at Clinch Valley. Where was he before he went to Fleming?
He came from Powell Valley High
Powell
School.
Valley. He coached. What was that great player he had? Barry Hamlin.
Barry Hamler.
Yeah, Barry Hamlin there.
He was a heck of a player. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah. I'm trying to think if they won this. I think they won.
They won state. He won state. He won state there, and then he went. It's funny. I didn't know that until I started this Facebook group, and it's funny how these names. And then Barry Hamlin, I believe he won a state championship as coach at Booker T. I believe many years later. So it's funny how it all. How about some of the other coaches that we may have forgotten about?
Well, let me run a player by you too.
Yeah,
I was very fortunate to coach a player from Pennington Gap High School out there.
Yeah.
Same area as Powell Valley, Jonesville, the whole thing. And if you look him up, he's still the 7th all-time leading scorer in the state of Virginia. And at one time, he was the leading scorer until Ralph Sampson. His name was Steve Marcy. And you've put him up. Y'all have had him up on
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've seen him. Yes.
I mean, he was a great player. He actually went to East Tennessee to play for Sonny Smith when Sonny was there. But the kid he was a great kid, had a difficult home life and stuff, but he didn't want to leave Pennington Gap. And so he could drive back and forth to LMU if he wanted to, but, and his girlfriend was still going to LMU, the whole thing. So Sonny called me and said, LJ said, you can get Steve Marcy if you want to. He said, I can't keep him on campus. He said, I went to get him the last time, which was my third trip over there. He said, and I tore up a leisure suit chasing him through the woods. I said, well, Sonny, we'll take him. And the rest was history. He played for us. He was on the team, went to the national tournament. And the bottom line, he walked across that stage and got his degree.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Coach, was Sonny Smith still at East Tennessee State when you were at Tennessee Chattanooga?
No, he was at Auburn.
He was at Auburn by then.
Yeah. In fact, when Murray Arnold left Chattanooga and went to the Chicago Bulls as an assistant, right after he had hired me, I'd been there about a month, and he called me and said, LJ, I hate to tell you this. He said, I've taken a job with the Chicago Bulls. I hollered at my wife and I said, don't unpack everything. Yeah. Because we may not have a job. But Sonny's assistant, Mac McCarthy, who was with him as a grad assistant at Tech, Virginia Tech, and then was an assistant at East Tennessee, he was at Auburn and he got the job. And he stayed there for I don't know how long, and took a team to the Sweet 16 his last year, and he was the head coach at VCU for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Coach, you've got great stories. You look great. You look like you don't look a day over 65, Coach.
Oh Lord!
When you look back on the choices that you made in your life, all these great basketball games, all the players you helped, all the relationships you made, do you look back on the people who just worked jobs and had these huge retirements and had these safe jobs? What other value that we put on these memories and these relationships that you make as a coach? I mean, how do you value those types of relationships?
No, I will never remember that I went through some difficult times early, even prior to getting into coaching. And I just love the game. I've always still love it, and love it till I die. But I'll never forget thinking one day, if you wake up and you're 60 years old and you have not done what you really want to do, which is coach basketball, help kids, that you've been helped. Like I said, if you don't do that, you're going to wake up disappointed. Yeah. So I had to sacrifice some to do it. But in the long run, and I never coached at Duke. I never coached at Carolina, but I'm not going to ever say anything bad about my career. There's always things I think you might change. I could tell you a couple, but in the long run, I'm still communicating with former players, coaches. I mean, like I said, in like the second week in September, you could have a nice little podcast with 3 guys, me, Sonny Smith, and Dave Hobbs, because we're all going to get together in Auburn.
That sounds great.
Week in September.
Yeah, we could tell Charles Barkley's story.
Oh, yeah, because he owes Sonny.
Oh, I'm sure.
Sonny owes him also.
Oh, yeah, that's great stuff. Yeah. Well, Coach, that's amazing. Now, do you like where basketball is today? Like when you go to a game, I go to a lot of high school games and I watch college. The constant screening, the skip passing, the focus on the 3-point shot. The game is so different than it was when you played, even when you coached in your early days. The game is almost unrecognizable. Do you like where the game is today?
Yeah, if I'm going to be very honest with you, and I want to be, I don't. I watch it for the purity of the game, of the passing, of the strategy, the X and O part. I know at times you can isolate and go one-on-one and back people down stuff, but that's just not the way I grew up. And playing it, coaching it, the whole thing. So it's not the same game, and I just have to say I don't enjoy it as much. That's why the women's game, I enjoy watching that, because it's more of what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The NBA. I growing up, I couldn't wait to watch the Boston Celtics. I don't care who they were playing. Now, sometimes I just don't know if I.
Yeah, So coach, like 30 years ago, I go to the Virginia State tournament. I go every year, and I wouldn't know all the teams that well. I would know the teams from Northern Virginia, but I wouldn't know the teams from the rest of the state. But
Yeah,
I would be able to watch a game in the first half, and I could tell without even knowing the teams, which team, like I'd watch the Martinsville team and I'd see them, I'd see the athletes, and I could tell which team would be able to impose their will in the fourth quarter. I could
yeah,
tell by the first half who was going to win the game. But
yeah.
nowadays, basketball games aren't, it's not, you don't impose your will anymore. It's about making the three-pointer. It's a completely different psychological and tactical game than it was
I
30
mean,
years ago.
it's like it's a game of runs
Yeah.
too. I mean, a team's down 8, 10, 12 points. Hey, next thing you know, the other team makes a run and they're up.
Yeah, they're up 5, 10.
Yeah, they're up 5 or 6. I mean, it's just I see it exactly the way you do, Julian. It's not the same. It's not the same game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coach, I know you're into recruiting. You have a recruiting service. Are kids getting opportunities to play in college? I know we had the COVID year, so the older kids were hanging on an extra year, and it was harder for the young kids to get opportunities at college. We have more European kids playing in the NCAA game as well, and definitely the pro game.
Yeah.
Are kids still getting opportunities to play in college?
I think so. There are. I think there are pluses and minuses to AAU basketball. The one thing is, I remember back when I first was into coaching, and especially like at Georgia Southern or Chattanooga, we would go to these elite camps. Well, they weren't team camps,
Hmm?
and they weren't AAU, so they weren't on teams until they got to that camp. And they'd give you a list. I'll never forget going to the ones in Georgia. They were called the BC camps.
Yes.
Two guys did those. I went to, you got your list, 300 players. Well, you might know who you might want to look at as far as that goes. But then you had to go through the whole thing and go see them wherever they were playing to see one, is that who are they recruitable for us? I mean, it was just a different. Now the AAUs, yeah, they pretty much put together teams supposedly of the best players, but sometimes the way those games are, I mean, I've seen them. I've seen even the JUCO jamborees they call them during the summer. They'll do an elite type thing. If you throw the ball in bounds, you may never see it again.
That's right.
You may touch it two ways,
Yeah.
rebound it or take it out of bounds,
Yeah.
because you may not see it again. Well, that takes away from what, as a coach, what you're trying to see in these kids, and you might miss one that would do some things that he never gets a chance to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
And also the kids and the prospects are so intertwined now. Like there's a network. Like a player will be the 50th ranked player in Virginia. It used to be 40 years ago. I couldn't wait till the Street and Smiths edition would come out, and October or November would come out, and I would go up and down that list
oh,
of players, and I would circle the ones from Virginia. I mean, I couldn't wait to get that list. Now the players know, every moment where they fit on these lists, in their
yeah,
state or nationwide.
yeah. The guy that did that, was heavily involved in starting that Street and Smith, was a sports guy in Chattanooga with one of the papers, Chris Dortch.
Yeah, Chris Dortch. Yeah,
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 Chris was, yeah, oh, Chris, yeah. I would always get my Street and Smith from him because I didn't have to pay for it. I thought,
yeah,
man, what a great deal this. But I was like you, I'd go through, mark all those things. Here they are, here, there. And, I was using it as a recruiting tool, but also relating to where I had also been,
yeah,
either as a player or a coach or whatever.
yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
those
Yeah,
kind of things. And we used to get these recruiting reports. When I first got in it at LMU in 75, 76, because we knew we had to have JUCO players.
yeah,
We were not going to get the best high school player.
yeah,
Didn't make any difference where he was. We're not going to get that guy.
yeah,
And we wanted players that could play with those guys. So we did a lot, and having been at a junior college as a player and then as a coach, assistant coach, I was very fortunate to be able to relate to the people running those reports and all. There was a guy in Florida that I don't know if he still does. His name was Rick Ball, Ball.
Yeah.
Had ball players. Look that up sometime.
Yeah, Rick Ball. I remember that.
I
Yeah.
recruited kids at LMU off of him. I got 2 kids off of that helped take us to the national tournament, and I had never seen them play or never knew of them till I saw that.
Nowadays, you go to YouTube and just watch a highlight.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. We didn't have quite that opportunity. But again, too, you just don't know how enjoyable. I couldn't wait to get the reports. Like you and Street and Smith, I couldn't wait to get those reports.
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get it. Coach, you were also a successful golf coach. How has coaching golf helped you as a basketball coach, and how has being a basketball coach helped you as a golf coach?
Well, I'll be very, very honest. I tell people this. When they say you were a golf coach, I said, well, let's get this straight. I was the van driver. I had to get them to the matches, feed them, the whole thing. I said, if they couldn't beat me, we probably weren't going to beat anybody. Yeah. But there's a mental side to the game that I always thought, hey, if you can control your emotions and understand what your game is about, and that sort of carried over to basketball, and they're both sort of intertwined and back and forth. That I could talk to on both levels, even though I was a little bit more basketball than I ever was golf.
Yeah, exactly. Coach, there's a basketball coach from he was from Mills Godwin named Mark Seidenberg. I don't know if you ever heard of Mark Seidenberg.
Yes.
He coached here. Yeah, he played at Douglas Freeman, and he started coaching tennis early in his career because it was extra money, and it's easier to get a job back then if you coach in different seasons at these high schools. Anyway, he never played tennis in his life.
Yeah,
but he took the job seriously, and he really thought about how to be a great tennis coach. He would have assistant coaches. He would find all these assistant coaches to follow each of his players. Meanwhile, he won 16 state championships as a tennis coach. Wow. He's in the VHSL Hall of Fame for tennis. He went in last year. Never played in his life. He just picked it up and he decided, I'm going to do this. And he had to give up coaching basketball because of health issues. Coaching basketball, as you know, could be a very stressful thing. But he coached tennis up until I think 2 years ago. And he coached, even when he retired from teaching, he still coached tennis and he loved it. And it's just funny because he wasn't a tennis player, but he decided he wanted to be a great tennis coach, and he's in the VHSL Hall of Fame now.
And he was at Douglas Freeman? Is that where he was?
He played at Douglas Freeman, and he coached there briefly, but he did most of his coaching at Mills Godwin in Western suburb. But great guy. Coach, I'm going.
Right about that real quick. You're right. That's just like the guy that hired me at UT-Chattanooga, Murray Arnold.
Yeah.
He never played basketball.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where he got his start was in the Maryland, D.C. area with over at, now I've lost my train of thought right there, DeMatha.
Oh, yeah.
That's where he got his start with DeMatha and Morgan Wooten. Yeah. And he studied the game, learned the game, and he was almost scary to talk to sometimes because he was so into it and did it that way. And he's the one that, UT-Chattanooga won the Division II national championship in like 70, I forget what year it was, but you know who they beat to win that thing? Try Randolph-Macon.
Oh, Randolph-Macon, yeah.
Yeah, with Hal Nunley.
Hal Nunley. That's a great program.
Oh, great.
It still is.
Oh, it still is. But yeah, he a guy named Shoemate, who ended up at Southeast Missouri, won the national championship. Then Murray came in, and that's when they went Division I.
Right. Yeah.
And he had some really good seasons. If you look back in the late 70s and the early 80s, I mean, he had some great players. He had Gerald Wilkins, Dominique's brother.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
He
played in the NBA. Gerald
played in the NBA for multiple years. Had a guy named Russ Shaney, played overseas, played in the NBA, played with the 76ers. Yeah.
Well, Coach, man, this has been so great getting to talk to you and hearing your journey. It's been incredible, all the lives that you touch and all the relationships that you made. I would like to, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your family. I understand you got some grandkids. You get to see your family a lot, or
Oh, yeah.
in retirement, you get to enjoy,
My two
them?
sons, they live here in Cleveland.
Okay.
My oldest son is the superintendent at the golf course here,
Oh,
Cleveland Golf.
he's a golf guy also.
Yeah, we'll plug them a little bit,
Yeah.
which he doesn't invite me to come out. He's seen my game. Then my youngest son is a forensic investigator with the police department here in Cleveland.
Oh, awesome.
And both those were good. Both those were good golfers, and they played basketball.
Yeah.
But my oldest son has three daughters.
Wow.
And he's coaching two of them, and I tell him, I said, I think you ought to continue to have kids. You might have a boy, but you don't seem to have any luck with it. Why don't you just go ahead and maybe get two more girls, and you got a five girl team.
That's right. Yeah.
My other son, his wife is my oldest son. His wife is a nurse practitioner. My youngest son's wife is a Spanish teacher at Bradley Central High School, who has won 3 state AAA women's basketball championships.
Wow.
In fact, if you ever the girl Ryan Howard that plays in WNBA?
Yeah, sure.
She played right here in Cleveland.
That's all right. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how would you compare Cleveland to the Martinsville, Bassett area?
Uh, because of how they treat. I'm talking about basketball. I'm talking about everything basically. The way they treat their sports through the recreation departments and things. It's bigger than what Bassett had. We had a community center, and we had some four community centers. But Martinsville, being a little bit bigger, they had a little bit more, I think, than we did. But again, it's here there because of basketball. And even though this is, heck, we're an hour and 10 minutes from UT's campus, so you think they're not football crazy down here?
Yeah, that's true.
But it's they do a really good job of it, and have had some really good players come through here.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I'm glad you're near family. I'm really thankful for Michael Barrows for putting you on my radar. Putting you on my radar. He's such a great guy.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And look, this has been great. Let's keep in touch. And maybe when you see Sonny, Coach Sonny, and I forgot the other coach's name.
Dave Hobbs.
Dave Hobbs.
David played on that 1967 EC Glass State Championship with Tom Trice. Right. Yeah,
that's right. Well, keep me in mind, and maybe we can touch base at a later date.
Oh, well, I'll be keeping up with you, on Facebook and everything. So, yeah, I'm liable to shoot something out to you at any point in time. Hey, and please feel free to ignore it anytime you want to.
Coach, the more I hear from you, the better.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. You just don't know how much. And let me say this last thing to you. I appreciate what you're doing, and you are helping youngsters as I feel like I have tried to help in the past. But it is truly a blessing to be able to talk to you, and I have to give God the credit for that.
Oh, well, Coach, thanks for saying that. Coaches like you do the heavy lifting. I get to come on and just talk about it, but I do appreciate your acknowledging that. And it's a joy to meet people like you and Michael and all the other people. I met folks from all over the state just doing this. And I love talking about our joint culture, basketball. I like talking about football as well. It's just, we're so lucky that we have this to keep us occupied, think about the great games.
I certainly can't put a price tag on it. Holler at me anytime you want to.
Okay, Coach. Have a great Sunday. Thank your son for helping us again, and let's keep in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. You too.